for playing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the spookiest video game-centric podcast on the Rogue Matter Network. That's right. Welcome to Button Smash. We're going to be talking about our favorite horror games, but not just our favorite ones, just like, talk about it for like 5-10 minutes each, and then that's our show. No. What we're doing is we're actually breaking it up almost like an awards show. Let's just dive right into who is joining us this week. We have Doc Chris.
Boo.
TV's Casey.
I am the knight.
He's saying that because he's wearing a Batman hat for everyone at home. Even though we agreed that we were not wearing any costume bits or anything.
It's not a costume.
Yeah, okay.
It's among my regular array of goofy hats.
Jay's Mac.
Hey, what's going on?
I like that. I like that better than the stupid Batman hat. Anyways. And cackling in the background, you're going to be hearing the Bad Coyote, Sergio.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the best damn video game podcast in the world. Thanks for joining our special spooky Halloween episode. So spooky.
And I am your host for the evening, of course, Booster Greg. I guess you could say boo and then put an exclamation mark after it. Boo, bad joke. Now that we've gotten all the business out of the way, let's jump right into it. Our first category, the best jump scare. You're walking down a hallway of some kind, and you're like, something's going to happen. And then you turn it, and nothing happens. But then something happens, and you're scared. And then, you're out of your chair, and chat's laughing at you. What? That didn't happen to me. What are you talking about? All right, Casey, tell me about your best jump scare in gaming.
I mean, you already laid it out for him. It's the dog scene from the original Resident Evil or the remake.
That's a good one.
Because they did it again and they messed with you. In the first game, you're walking through a hallway after you get into the big old mansion, and you walk by a hallway with two big old windows, and it's a fixed camera, so you can't see anything that's actually outside. Also, it's PS1 graphics, so everything is chunky looking, even if you could see out the window. And the glass shatters, the dog busts through, and you're already like if you haven't fumbled your controller at that point, you've got nerves of steel, or you've played the game before. Nice touch in the remake, other than just having dogs jump through the window. They make the glass cracking sound, so you think it's coming, but they don't actually break through until you walk back through the hallway later. So they knew what they were doing. Oh yeah, big time.
All right. The dog scene from Resident... I forgot about that one, actually. That's a really, really good one. Will Chad agree? I don't know. We'll find out. Chris, what do you got?
I'm going with PT.
Ooh.
That has some... Yeah, I chose another game that has a good jump scare, but it's kind of... They're kind of cheesy jump scares, where this one was like, not only is it something that jumps out at you, but it's terrifying Lisa. And there's several things that you can do to kind of cue that up, and it's... get your heart going. But that's my strong start, is PT.
We're going to break the order just for this one round, because that is also my answer. I wrote in literally anything in PT.
Oh, that's cheap.
Literally any moment.
It's not cheap. Everything in PT is scary, dude.
I was so sure that you were going to do the jump scare of the door slamming in particular.
Oh no!
No.
There's a moment. Doesn't she show in a window at one point, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah,
and it's like, I think it's the first time you see her, and it is rough. Also, I just remembered that I had to wipe my PS4, and I now have lost PT, and I might have to do crazy things to try to get it back again. But I'm upset that it's not on there anymore. The
only thing scarier than the game PT is what you'll have to go through to get it back on your new PlayStation.
yeah, that's what's gonna happen. But I did it once. I got it back once, so maybe I can do it again.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Jay's Mac, what do you got?
Welcome to the game. And that's not a catchphrase that I just started. That is a game.
Hey, I just lost the game.
Damn it. I'm so mad.
Oh, I hate you, dude.
Chad is pissed.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Wow. It was like 2.5 years. So welcome to the game. I don't know if you guys know it, but it's a game that involves you just kind of going through the dark web and doing things for people. This jump scare in particular, you basically like execute an order to kill somebody on the dark web, just on your home computer. And then you turn around as you get up, and there's a dude standing just to your right. So scary. And it's the thing that kills me is that it's realistic, right? Like, if you're like, I don't know, like that to me is the like scariest thing, because it is the most realistic thing that could happen, I think, out of a lot of these horror games, right? And now that I say that, I'm probably going to get haunted in this house as well. I've lived in 2 haunted houses, by the way, so
Don't say it out loud.
I don't mind. They're fine. They're usually just kind of
Now our audience is
nice.
going to have to pass this on to 10 other Twitch streams.
good.
We're going to move right on to our next category, which is best enemies. You have loaded up as your protagonist, and you're kind of getting a lay of the land. Then all of a sudden, a man with a giant pyramid for a head, or a zombie dog, or I don't know, yourself jumps out of nowhere.
Perhaps
And
a zombie dog with a pyramid for a head.
who's to say? Yay! I hate that I've picked that up as my normal phrase, turn of phrase now. It's not one of my finest moments. But anyways, Casey, tell me about the best enemies. This is not including main antagonists, by the way. This is just the enemies.
Oh, that's totally fine, because who could ask for more horror enemies than Castlevania Symphony of the Night? You got giant wolves, giant bats, giant birds, slime monsters, skeletons, skeleton heads, big skeleton heads, skeleton knights, skeleton dragons, Medusa heads, succubi, ghost robots, liches, animated armor, demons, mermen, harpies, hunchbacks, evil plants, evil books, evil pumpkins, evil puppets, flying books, and that one giant ball that's made of human corpses. And that's only to name a few.
Or evil pumpkin puppets that are balls.
Yes, it's got everything. I mean, Castlevania is probably like the definite. It's quite like the Universal Studios of horror games, where it's got everything you could ever ask for, all under one roof. Or I guess maybe that's Monster Squad. Yeah, Monster Squad of video games.
All right, moving right on down the chain here. We got Dot Chris. What do you got?
All right. Mine, I feel like, is a little bit of a stretch, but bear with me. I'm going to say Dead by Daylight, because the enemies, technically every round, there's not like one overarching big bad on in Dead by Daylight. Every round, you're up against some other monster. Some of them you've seen before. Some of them are exclusive to the games, such as like Pyramid Head is in this. There's like I've only been playing for a couple weeks, so I can't even name like a lot of them. But the fact that you're up against these enemies that have very specific abilities of their own, every time you load a level, that enemy is going to, the way that you're going to interact with the enemy and the way that you have to run away from them and the way that they can attack you is very different. And the fact that you can also be the enemy in that game is also pretty wild. So I'm going to say that the best enemy choices are in Dead by Daylight.
Interesting. All right. And we're going to go back into the real order. We're going to continue with Jay's Mac.
So I goofed up and I couldn't think of, enemies and a better antagonist. So this will be clumped in together, but
Cheater,
Nemesis.
you're fired. You're out.
That's fine. I'm just going to come back as Nemesis and then just attack you. That's my pick.
Nice.
I don't know of a more kind of monstrous kind of antagonist for any game, right? And I think that's stuck with me for however long it's been out now, like 15 16 years or longer. I remember just like me and my best friend playing, and I just like would stomp around his house every now and then, stars, right? And it stuck with me like for forever. So that's the one I had to go with.
All right. And that brings it up to me. For me, the best enemies are going to be in Little Nightmares, personally. Now, while you don't really actually fight them, you more kind of avoid them. I think the way they're designed and their presentation and the way they move and their sound, just everything about them is just super creepy and disturbing. And like, it's disturbing in that way that Witches, the Roald Dahl based movie, was disturbing as a child. It really just gets you at like your core of what you don't want to see and just shoves your face in it. Much like if you were a dog and you piddled in the house, just shoves your nose right in it. There have been many times where you had like the blind guy who just like has those giant like orangutan arms that are just feeling out for you, and you're just like, just don't touch me, man, just don't touch me. Or you have the Chef Boyardee brothers, who you don't realize there's actually more than one of them until it's almost too late. Like things like that. It's a semi kid friendly design, but it's definitely not a kid friendly design in that same way that Disturbing Claymation was back in, what was that, 1990s, I would say.
It's like Guillermo del Toro designed the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes, thank you. It's great. If anyone has not played it, I do highly recommend. It's not it's not scary, but it is frightening.
It's
I think
super
is the way
creepy.
to put it. Yeah,
It's
it's
wicked
very,
creepy.
very creepy. All right. And now we work on technical difficulties, get those polls right up. I think we should move right along to best story. And since we're talking about the best story, you each have to paint the picture for me, starting with TV's Casey.
Picture, my good friend, a young lass investigating what seems to be the murder of her grandfather. She goes to his elaborate mansion in Rhode Island only to find a book covered in skin. The Tome of the Eternal Darkness. A horrible tome reaching back to the times of the Elder Gods, showing a long, sordid history from back in ancient times in ancient Persia. This game follows a protagonist named Alex Roivas and about 15 other people who have encountered this book throughout the course of history, including the guy who ultimately becomes the bad guy and who serves these, existential, H.P. Lovecraft-esque monsters, an ancient Roman centurion who becomes a lich. Okay? This game builds on everything you know and love from both history and horror fiction and combines it into one big mess that just truly messes with your brain.
Okay.
What's the name of the game?
Yeah.
Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
There it is.
Sorry. I should have led with that.
No. All right. That was quite the book report. I don't know. Doc Chris, can you compete with that?
In a world ravaged by fungus that attacks the brain, turning you into a mindless killing machine. Eventually, over time, the fungus sprouts out of your head until you can no longer make any noise besides. This is the world of The Last of Us.
Nice.
Look, you're an old guy who's pissed off. He's got to do one really long escort mission to some very annoying young girl that you have to carry across the United States. What more do you want? It's amazing. It's engaging. Everyone's played this game. I don't have to justify how amazing this story is. It's incredible. Everybody else loses. Thank you.
That's true. That would be true if I even considered The Last of Us a horror game, which I do not, by the way.
What?
No.
What?
Just because it has zombies in it doesn't make it a horror game.
It's terrifying.
Would you say it's scary in the way that a psychological thriller is scary, but not in a way that a horror movie is scary?
Oh man, are you going to disqualify half the answers I have coming up?
I am actually, my goal going into this episode was to disqualify all of the answers that Casey gave.
I knew that was a
Yeah, 100%.
But he's gotten two good ones, so
I feel like most of mine are going to be disqualified maybe.
I mean, we already disqualified Nemesis and Nemesis.
He's a boss.
So there's that. All right. So moving right along, we have, well, speaking of disqualifications, Jason.
I'm definitely not going to be able to do the voice that both of you did. I'll just read the Wikipedia for you guys. But it's surprise. I pick the same thing all the time. It's Welcome to the Game again. I think this has such a really good story, even though there's really no story to it, because it puts you in your own curiosity and allows you to try to find this red room where you can, watch people get tortured and participate in people getting tortured, which is it's super messed up. And again, the consequences in the game, are consequences that could occur in real life. So again, that's why I chose it. It's a very scary idea, and it's something that's very real.
All right. So, brings me to me. My favorite member of the Button Smash podcast, me.
Hey, mine too.
I wonder if we have the same least favorite.
No.
I'm right here, guys.
So, in this world that Remedy has created, Alan Wake is a best-selling crime fiction author who is suffering from quite the writer's block. He decides to take his wife to a small mountain town called Bright Falls, and basically everything kind of hits the fan at that point. When they arrive, they got like this creepy, Bright Falls is very creepy. There's a weird psychologist in there, and there are shadow people that are trying to kill Alan. Also, his wife goes missing, and when he exits his vehicle, which has crashed and caused his wife to disappear, pages of a book detailing the events that just happened that he wrote that he does not remember writing are littered on the ground. Alan has to go through this crazy Maine town. Well, I mean, if we're being honest, aren't most Maine towns pretty crazy?
Yes.
If Stephen King is to be believed.
I mean, the way that you started it, it sounded like a Stephen King autobiography. Or
Yeah.
just the first half of Misery.
Yeah. So Alan Wake is my pick for best overall story. Not just because it was one of those games that, you know, I got that, like, I had that like hipster moment of like, oh, I played this, have you? And most people that I knew had not played it, but because it was genuinely, you're playing a Stephen King book, which I thought was really cool. There's also a little bit later, spoilers, by the way, a little bit of a psychological thriller aspect to it where he may or may not be crazy. You don't know. And it all ties up fairly nicely in their newest title, Control. But Alan Wake is not only fantastically written, the Easter eggs they leave for everyone is just really cool. Like, he also wrote a show that was called, what was it called? I can't remember right now. It was like a Twilight Zone. It was not Rent. It was a Twilight Zone like knockoff show that he wrote. So you would be going through a level, you would stop, there'd be a TV, and in black and white and that old like Twilight Zone-y feel, you just watch like 5 minutes of an episode, quote unquote, that he wrote. And
A
it somehow
velociraptor
ties in.
saying, Alan.
It somehow ties into the overall theme, and it just goes on from there. My biggest my biggest mistake for this game is I never beat the last DLC. So at this point, I have to replay the whole thing, which I probably will do live at some point. But Alan Wake, for sure. Okay. So we are going to be talking about the best game mechanic. And just so everyone is aware, after this, we will be taking a quick commercial break. So best game mechanic. This is something that was offered that is unique to the game that you chose. Something that no other games really have that really add to the feel and terror of what you're playing. So, Casey.
Have you ever played a game that threatened to delete its own save file?
Oh, geez.
Well, let me tell you. Once again, I'm going to bring up Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, which introduced this for me. I mean, there are similar stuff in other games, like Psycho Mantis and Metal Gear Solid will make it, look like your TV just went to video mode or cut out the power or something. And Gruntilda has threatened to delete your save files in Banjo-Kazooie. This happens while you play. It's not triggered in the sense that, it's announced and they'll hit you with it. It just happens. And you don't know if it's real or not, and neither does your character. The walls will start to bleed. Your character may turn into a zombie. A fly will crawl across the front of your monitor. Like real creepy, like Ring level stuff. The statues' heads will move. They'll turn as you walk past. You'll enter a door and you'll be back at the beginning of the room that you just went through. You'll try and open a door and it's locked. Doors will open on their own. It's a ton of things that happen. And it's all related to a built-in sanity meter in the game, which, fluctuates based on you encountering spooky stuff or, taking healing items to lower it and what have you. But you're playing in a weird world, and the weird world hits you back. And I've never encountered anything quite on the level that it builds a game around this mechanic.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump in line on this one as well because I also chose the Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem.
There's nothing like it.
Specifically, yeah. Not that I wasn't listening to Casey, but I wasn't listening to Casey. So I'm just going to say the sanity meter specifically in this.
Yeah.
And there was one moment that I will never forget ever in my life in gaming where I bought the game used at GameStop, as you do when, I don't even remember how old I was, but I was like, cool, this looks interesting. It's like super cheap. I put it in and I'm playing it. I'm playing it for a good couple hours or so. And my sanity meter just drops down to 0 because I'm not paying attention to it because I'm not quite used to it. And I go through a door and I load in on the other side and something jumps, like rips my face off practically. And all of a sudden a screen goes on and go, are you enjoying Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem? Then you should buy the full game.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. They had that old school demo stinger screen because I lost all my sanity.
Yeah.
That was the most hilarious, most like brilliant thing you could possibly do when you're losing your mind in a game is make you think you're losing your mind in the real world.
They built in a screensaver in this game too.
It's so good.
If you leave your controller for idle enough, the main bad guy, Pius Augustus, will just show up on your screen.
So
It's weird, man. It's weird.
my best friend had this game, so we played it like just kind of hanging out. And this is also my choice. But knowing that the game was messing with him and doing weird things, I just started turning his television off with his remote.
It's a 4D experience.
Yeah. So like he'd be playing along and I'd just be like, his sanity would get super low and just pop it off to just see what he does. He's like, what the F? Like what's happening? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, I don't know. It's just the game's crazy.
My
It just
sanity
turns the
meter was
TV
full.
off.
I don't understand. It's weird.
And I think like he knew, but he was also just like playing it up because he knew that I knew it was funny. So I think he was smarter than that to realize that a game couldn't actually turn a TV off. He's a good friend.
He's a good friend. All right. So
Now I got to throw mine in there since everybody else did
Go for
Eternal
it.
Darkness. So mine's not super original, but I like the reasoning behind it, and that is Resident Evil 1, the tank controls in it. So tank controls you find them in Resident Evil, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, the early Tomb Raider as well.
Yes.
But the reason they use those tank controls in Resident Evil is because it's so hard to navigate, and it makes it harder for you to get away from those objects, which kind of or rather not the objects, the enemies that are in the game. And that idea that they make kind of your basic movement more difficult, that's a smart move because that just makes it all the more exciting.
You can't move and shoot.
yeah,
Can't move and shoot. Can't do it.
yeah,
And that's intentional.
for sure. All right. We're going to leave the poll open just a little bit long. Wait, everyone went, right? I lost track.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Lost track. All right. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about best setting, best protagonist, and sound design, plus more. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Michael Dolce, host of the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like comics, movies, TV, pop culture, and want inside access to the creators behind it, then you've come to the right place. Join us every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, streaming live on Facebook.com/RogueWavePodcast and Twitch.tv/RogueWavePodcast. New episodes available on all major podcasting apps immediately following the live stream. Rogue Wave Podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it.
We are back and we're talking about now the best setting in a horror game. So specifically, think about this. You load into this world, level 1, right? The opening cutscene just played, and you're already not at ease. You're already thinking like, I just want to turn this game off and just play Hello Kitty Fun Time or whatever it is you play when you're not playing horror games. What are you thinking? What is going through your brain? What is the one game that had that setting that you will never forget? TV's Casey.
So here's my not a horror game answer, but it's one of the best answers I could possibly give. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. This is a game that has 5 core areas in it. It's got Clocktown, the swamp, the mountain, the ocean, and Iconic Canyon. Each one is themed after a stage of grief. Clocktown is denial. The Deku Woodland Swamp is anger. The Gorons are bargaining. The ocean and the Zoras are in a big depression, and Iconic Canyon is acceptance because they're all dead. There's that game. I don't understand how it has the rating it has because there are so many horrifying things in it, and there's so much sadness. Like, you feel like the world is ending. There's really no other way to describe it. It even starts you off in a creepy, darker version of the creepy, dark Lost Woods from Ocarina of Time. Mm-hmm. Everything about that game is a darker spin on everything you thought you knew about Zelda, and I absolutely adore it.
You know what? I'm not mad about that.
Not mad about it.
It's actually a pretty good answer.
That's a good answer.
It's spooky as hell, man. And you go to the moon.
All right. I am going with a game that I still haven't beaten, and I've probably spent the better part of the last few years. Well, not the better part of, but starting it, playing for a little bit, getting freaked out, putting it down, then picking it up later. And that game is Outlast, which is one of the most messed up games ever. The setting of this location is a mental institution that has been overrun not only by some of the inmates, but also some of the very twisted doctors that are in the place. I'm not 100% sure like where these things come from, but yeah, it's a really rough game. Also has the fun mechanic that there are some rooms, some moments where it's too dark to actually move through, so you have to use your video camera with the night vision in it to actually make your way through it. And as you are playing, those batteries are dwindling down, so you have to collect batteries as you go, and just pray that you don't get stuck in a spot where you can't see anything and you're out of batteries. It's terrifying, not for the faint of heart, not for the easily offended. It's a messed up game in a messed up place.
Though Outlast and I think it's Alien Isolation as well has those same mechanics where you can't really fight back, and I dislike those horror games. I want to be able to punch the dude in the face. I need
you want to punch that alien, that 8 foot tall Doug Jones monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
This game starts. I was gonna say this game starts off and it literally tells you have 2 options: run, 3 options: run, hide, or die. That's it. You can't do anything.
Yeah. At a certain point, playing Outlast, I was like, I need to fight back in these enemies because I'm used to playing like first-person shooters, COD, all that stupid Chad like bro shit, and I was just like, yo, I'm not scared of this guy. And then at certain points, I'm totally, absolutely terrified at what's in front of me.
I am scared of this guy.
I am scared of this guy.
God.
Especially when you play with a good headset. Oh my god, the audio messes with you like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like,
the crazy doctor that talks like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? How you doing, pal?" And oh my god, he chases. Oh, it's terrifying.
Oh god, like the breathing and everything running from an enemy, and he's like behind you, and you have to like get through like these like tiny little spaces.
Where you going, pal? Oh.
That leaves to Jason.
You guys ever hear of a game called Pony Island?
God damn it.
No.
Pony Island.
This game is super weird. This is a game that is set in an old video arcade cabinet, right? You walk up, it's just super like distorted, like really bad, like old school graphics. It's got really creepy like fractal designs in the background, and you think that you're playing just like some random, goofy pony game that's just like a point and click. That's just like a side scroller. It turns out that this game is actually controlled by Lucifer. And it's all like digitized, so it looks like hacker type. I think there's like a theme in my version of horror games for the night. But this game it's just so weird. It's not that it's like terrifying or anything like that to play. It just puts you in this weird space where everything's just kind of like it's always off. I definitely recommend checking it out. But you will get creeped out by it for sure. And it's not necessarily a game, like I said, that has like a ton of jump scares or anything, but the setting of the game and like the way everything kind of works in it is just like, it's very disturbing.
All right. And that brings the best for last, and that's going to be me I know that you cannot beat my answer, possibly. And if you're looking at the poll, you already know what my answer is because it's the only one that hasn't been talked about yet. when you're thinking about horror games and you're thinking about the scariest possible setting in the history of horror video games, you can only think about Silent Hill. It is probably known as one of the classically scariest games that you could play in the PlayStation era. And they've made a very successful movie off of it and a not so successful movie off of it. It's this creepy town just covered in fog, and everything is just kind of a little too worn down and yet a little too intact just to be like really any realism in there. And the enemies are a part of the setting as well. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because I know we got a lot of other subjects to go off of, but I think just the town of Silent Hill is also pretty much the freaking character of, like, the main character of the series as well. So I think that has to be said there. All right, moving right along. Talking about one of the, I think, more difficult things to pick for me, which is the best protagonist in a horror game.
Oof, yeah.
Because I find they're always very generic and plain and not super exciting. So, Casey, wow me.
No.
No.
This is
No.
the, this
I
is the
decline.
That's not an option.
this is the
No
only
crying in baseball.
This is the only one I didn't really have an answer for. I could go with the easy route and say, Alex from Eternal Darkness, because she is actually a character, and seeing her struggle for basically half the game amongst all these other people is really great. But I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna throw you a curveball with my favorite, almost nondescript character to speak of, Isaac Clarke from Dead Space.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like
That's
Isaac
really
a
good
lot
one.
because while he is that classic blank slate, you insert your character in there. There are elements to him slowly going insane over the course of the game that makes it a lot more appealing than if you were just a weird silent Terminator man plowing through hordes of, necromorphs and all that jazz. The fact that this man struggles, you can hear him be terrified. It makes him feel a little more real. And if you watch him die enough times, you start to feel a little bit more sympathetic to this poor bastard trying to just survive on a derelict space vessel and find his girlfriend. So, I like Isaac.
I also picked Isaac.
No!
Hey.
Yeah. Yep. I have a more kind of what do you call it? Superficial reason why? Because how could you be afraid in a suit like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That suit's awesome. So I was like, this is a really good choice for me. I think that I've told everybody this before. I've lived in a basement and an attic before, so I was definitely creeped out and tried not to play games that were too terrifying to me. But a game like this, you're in a spacesuit, you have some armor, you feel a little bit better equipped against monsters and aliens and stuff. That's why I picked him.
All right. Plus, that suit is pretty scary on its own. Like, it looks like you're just in some sort of weird futuristic Iron Maiden that's just made for you.
Yeah.
And he fights space zombies with construction equipment.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, that's just how you fight space things, anyways.
How do you fight space zombies?
I
haven't
don't.
made
But
an effort.
No, well, that's just the logical next step.
yeah, there you go. All right. Speaking of logical next steps,
It's me.
it's Chris's turn.
All right, I'm going back to what Greg thinks is a poor choice of a game for horror game. But I'm going back to Last of Us. I love Ellie from The Last of Us 1. Her youthful quips and her just ranting on and actually annoying Joel the whole time. I love it. I love it so much. I just want to hang out with Ellie.
I just want to point out that I did mention that The Last of Us Part 1 is my favorite game of the last decade. So I'm not hating on this game, people at home. So you can at me if you want. I love the attention. But I just don't consider it like a horror, maybe horror adjacent, because I guess zombies, but I don't think zombies.
Horror.
I also don't consider The Walking Dead to be horror, because it's not super scary like I think a horror thing should be.
I think Clementine would have been a fair shake in this
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
Nah, man. I mean, I think of the minute-to-minute gameplay of when you are up against clickers is 100% a horror game.
I don't know.
While that's not the entire game, while you do fight lots of different enemies, I got to say that with the fact that the main problem with the world is that there are these zombies that have taken over, that constitutes a horror game. It is definitely more action-y than your usual.
Yeah, I think that's my problem with it, yeah.
Like that versus Resident Evil is very different, except for once you get into those moments, those really survival horror moments.
All right. So mine, this might be because I've just been streaming these games recently, but the only character I could really think of is Sebastian Castaneos from The Evil Within 1 and 2.
That's real
Now,
fresh, buddy.
He's not a great character, but I love that he's a horrible character. He is just like, he talks like this the entire time, and he's just such a stereotype for a grizzled, like disheveled man.
I don't actually smoke
like,
cigarettes. I only eat them.
But he's just so like in the first game, he's so out of place because he's wearing like a noir detective suit, and it takes place in current times. And then in the second game, he's just dressed normally. he's actually in the second game a ripoff, in my opinion, of Joel from The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
Flannel
just like
and all?
his stunt double, essentially. It's all in all, like the character is just so over the top, and the world is just like so not suited to him. I just love every second when he's on there, and especially whatever line of dialogue he delivers. It's not the worst voice acting, but it's pretty terrible voice acting, and I just eat it up. So Sebastian Castaneos for me, but in kind of an ironic way. So
It's tough to find a good protagonist because you're usually a silent protagonist.
yeah, that's especially in a horror game. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's go on to what I think we'll get some interesting results from, which is going to be sound design. Casey, what do you have?
Oh, Dead Space. Without question.
Yeah.
I've never felt more thrilled by the sound of a game than playing that. Because as you slowly go more insane, you start to hear voices. And you get the creepiest rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in recorded history. Playing through your ears near the end there. And in fact, it was such a huge part of the game. That's the entire trailer for Dead Space 2. To the creepy Twinkle Twinkle Little Star song. But the screams of the enemies, there's really not much ambient music because you're in a derelict space vessel on the Ishimura. You hear fans spinning, you hear doors slamming, you hear electricity sparking off. Every little thing that's around you in this horrific environment makes noise. And then when you're out in space in the 0G sections and there's no sound, it's even worse. Huh. I get chills just thinking about it.
Hey guys, guess what?
What?
Mine was also Dead Space.
It's really good.
You can't copy off of Casey's homework. He gets the wrong answers all the time.
Casey asked me to see my homework.
I'm a straight C student, buddy.
As long as you're passing.
Yeah.
C's get degrees.
What moment for you though, Jason? for
No,
Dead Space?
like the actual like the vacuumous space when like you have supposedly no sound. Like those are always like the creepiest and the best moments in any kind of
My cats hate the
sound
vacuum.
setting.
Everyone hates the vacuum, especially cats.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
But any movie, any game where it all of a sudden has nothing, I think is done really well. Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right, I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
I'm also going with my last choice, which was Last of Us one more time, because of the sound the clickers make is so freaking iconic. Like, you got to have a great sound design if you can hear something and be like, I know what that's from.
That's some Ben Burt level sound design right there.
Absolutely. And I think it reminds me of the chick from The Grudge, right? Like with the screwed up vocal cords. And like that movie messed me up real bad. And same thing when you hear the clicking vocal cords. Oh, God. And then same thing in here. I had like PTSD from watching that movie as a youth. Love it.
Yeah. All right.
What you got, Greg?
So I have, this is going to be to no one's surprise, the game that you can get for free right now over on the Epic Store.
Of course.
Blair Witch.
Ghostbuster? Oh.
Blair Witch. While everyone knows that this is probably one of my favorite horror games, period, if not top 5, the sound in it was particularly interesting to me because there are enemies that you can't see and they can't see you. So you have to rely primarily on sound at that point. So I remember very much towards the end, and I think we've talked about this before. I think it was during the last episode or maybe 2 episodes back, where you enter the Blair Witch house essentially, and you have to look at the floor, and you could hear one of these creatures breathing through your right ear.
I already
they're
don't
just
like
right
it.
there.
I don't like it.
It was so cool. It was so well done. You can like really hear like the rustling of the leaves. You can hear how far away your dog is if you're a bad dog dad and let him get too far from you. It was just such a well-made game, and like care went into every single aspect of it, especially the sound. And that moment where you can hear out of either ear is like audio for me. If you can pan the audio in a horror game, you have my vote. Like that's just terrifying. So for me, it would be Blair Witch.
Honorable mention I do want to give to Alien Isolation, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That
yeah.
game is just built around the like. You even have an item that projects sound because the sound design in that game is so great to trick the alien into not killing you immediately.
Yeah. I want to give an honorable mention real too as we just get the poll up here for BioShock. While it's not really a horror game in my opinion, we just hearing Rapture breathe essentially with like the creaking of the pipes, and you can kind of like almost feel it expanding and contracting with like, I don't know, the water pressure was always really cool. Except for that really annoying robot, like ding, 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 ding. I hated that thing so much.
Welcome to the Circus of Value.
That was amazing. I love Circus of Value so much. So much. So yeah, so that's what we have for best sound design. Now the next one, we'll go over this and we'll take a quick commercial break afterwards. We have our visual design aesthetic. So for those of you at home kind of wondering what this could mean, this is that game that just looks a little bit different. They put a little bit of that extra detail into the style or something somewhere. And we're going to start off with TVs, Casey.
So I went with Eternal Darkness again, and it is still.
Do you people play any other games?
Listen.
Who are you asking?
There's a reason why this game is so acclaimed, and this one is kind of a cheatsy answer because obviously the visuals are not up to par of a modern game because it was built off the back of the N64 and was released on GameCube. So we're already talking a game that's it's 20 years old as of its development. It's got 4 principal areas, but it has 15 really uniquely designed characters. And on top of that, the 4 areas that they built have to also compensate for the sanity effects. So you're building multiple versions of the same area, more scary than the last, able to change on you at any time. The environment is its own enemy. And I think visually it really is a spectacle.
All right. I'm afraid to ask. Doc Chris.
So I know you hate. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going with Last of Us for this one. I'm going with Little Nightmares, and we kind of already talked about it earlier. That Little Nightmares has that super creepy, uneasy look to it. I am a big fan of how this game looks.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I forget. We're going in order now. I forgot what the order was. It was Jason.
Yeah, no, we're going in order, but it was because I had the same game as Casey twice in a row. Which guess what? Guess what I picked?
A special
Casey.
third time?
No.
Oh.
No.
So I picked. I didn't actually play it, admittedly, but I've watched Greg play it. Blair Witch. This game takes that aesthetic of like Slender Man, right? And just makes it with such better graphics. This is really creepy to watch, not let alone play. And like I'm watching and like just kind of doing my own thing or whatever, just like bopping around the house, and I'm like, this is actually really kind of weird. I turned it off on you a couple times, Greg, and I apologize, but
You're fired. Get out.
Twice fired? Damn.
You dare not watch all 6 hours when I'm live straight?
So that's the game I chose. The Blair Witch Project also scared the crap out of me when I was younger. So that holds a special place in my
I
heart,
mean, I
or
straight
hell,
up
whichever you want to
avoid
call it.
corners because of that movie.
Yeah, exactly, same.
All right. And now I'm choosing someone's choice from the last couple of rounds. I said Dead Space. I thought they did a fantastic job at making the best Alien game that you could possibly make with this, like, I don't know, they somehow made this like spaceship seem like a haunted house at the same time, but also seem like a spaceship.
Yeah.
I was very, very impressed with like all of it. Wait, did I say that or am I messing up? No,
You're good.
I'm pretty sure I said that. Okay. I thought I was mixing for a minute. Anyways, yeah, Dead Space is just like, it was terrifying. You could hear things skittering through the ceiling. There's always like blood stains everywhere, but like it was always in that convenient spot where there wasn't actually any danger, and then you turn around, there is danger, and you could really hide your enemies in this environment really well. It did a great job at looking new and super old all at the same time. So I really enjoyed this. Yeah, with all that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about most disturbing, best antagonist, and more. We're going to be talking about the most disturbing. Now, game or moment in a game. I want to hear all about it. I'm not even going to explain what this means because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Casey, go.
Silent Hill 2, sexy nurses, very confusing horror boner. Was that too fast?
You don't have to go as fast as I did
Yeah,
right
what
there.
the-
I was just
oh,
like, what was that?
I didn't know what we were doing. I thought we were going into like super lightning round mode.
I do want to give Casey props to like committing to a non-existent bit.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I adapt on the fly, baby.
Especially that last part, he said it so quickly. He's like, oh, I don't know, I'm confused. Sexy nurses, Silent Hill.
Silent Hill 2 is a journey into the mind of one Mr. Sunderland as he deals with a lot of his own inner demons manifesting in this horrible, horrible, foggy town. One of which are these mutilated, bandaged mummy nurses.
Sexy mommy nurses.
Yeah, like, they look sexy when you look at them from a concept art point of view, but when you see them in game and they have this sort of like kind of screech.
They're even hotter, I agree.
And what's more hotter than a woman covered in bandages screaming like a banshee? I mean, oh boy, that really, you feel the tingle
Sounds like my
on that
Tuesdays.
one.
All right.
But them, I mean, Pyramid Head, it's, there's a lot that's disturbing about that game. I mean, blood everywhere. I mean, you name it. You take any screen cap from that game, it'll send a shiver up your spine.
Yep, use it as material. Got it.
All right. Doc Chris, go.
Man, I gotta go with the ending of Inside. Inside is such a phenomenal game. You're playing a cool kid side scroller. It's a little creepy. It's kind of hard, not that hard, but like kind of challenging. Get through. And the end of that game, when you turn into a giant mess of bodies, and then just you basically go the reverse through the game that you just played, just wreaking absolute havoc. Like that game Carry On that came out, like there's no way that game wasn't inspired by the ending of Inside. It's gross, it is repulsive, it is disturbing, it's terrible.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
It's fun as hell. It's so good.
It's a person meatball.
Yeah, it's also like freaking Tetsuo from Akira. Like
Yeah.
It becomes a giant meatball goblin. It's like
The rat.
Meat Baby.
It's kind of like the Rat King from Last of Us Part 2 as well.
Yes, Rat King.
So good.
Oh
Anyways,
God.
that was my answer.
right.
Jay, what you got, man?
Yeah.
PT.
Ooh.
When they canceled the game, that was the most disturbing part.
Got him.
No, the bathroom scene, man. When you're walking through, it's so gross. Everything's nasty, and then like you're going through the hallway afterward too, and then like you get like that jump scare, and I'm like, I watched a friend play that on stream, like years ago, like when that came out in like 2014 or something like that, And I was just watching his camera because again I couldn't necessarily watch because it was too terrifying for me. But I'm watching his like face cam, and his face cam was like he did one of those things, like he was so frightened he couldn't speak, right? So I ended up playing through it at one point, and I was just like, nope, I can't do it. Once we got in the bathroom and just see all the cockroaches and the squirrel in the sink, and you're just like, this is
Dude, nothing can prepare for you for that sink. Like
No.
nothing can prepare you for
No.
that sink.
but it's horrible.
Let the boy watch.
Yeah.
And that brings me to yet another chance where I get to talk about Blair Witch for another couple seconds, because that's what I chose. The most disturbing part. This is going to be big spoilers, so I would recommend, if you have not played it, to mute your podcast or fast forward if you're listening to this in the future. By the way, I hope everything is still intact in the future. So come back in about 10 seconds or so, or 15. So there's a part where your dog, your companion, may or may not be long for this world, let's just say.
Oh, no.
And there's a scene where you are in a ditch and you are carrying, I feel bad, I'm ruining this for Chris because I feel like he was really
No, that's
into
fine.
playing. Okay. And you're holding your dog and you are running around this ditch trying to get out of it and get him help. And you just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you hear your dog whimpering in your arms, and you can look down at him, and it's just not only heartbreaking, but it's just like haunting for me. And this is like a game with psychological thrills and maybe the Blair Witch and who knows, but it's like this part to me was the worst. And like writing goes up on the wall that's just like, run faster, go this way, and it's kind of like taunting you as you go. So that's my most disturbing part. Everyone can come back now. You can come back. It's fine. All right, let's move along to what I thought was one of the easier parts to really, or one of the easier answers for me to think of, the best antagonist.
Best antagonist.
Casey.
Skull Kid, or Majora's Mask controlling Skull Kid, because he's the true villain. This mask, created by an ancient tribe, is the most pure evil thing I may have ever seen in a video game, because the first act you ever see it do, it takes the soul of a murdered child and puts it in your body. That is the origin of Deku Link. Okay? Beyond that, what else does it do? It brings aliens to a peaceful farm. It turns a innocent girl's daughter into a mummy for kicks. It it convinces a bunch of pirates to steal a bunch of orphan Zora eggs. It kills the great Goron hero and forces the entire wilderness into an ice storm. Everything in this game, all the despair, all the trauma, even the tiny little personal traumas, are all because of this root of evil, Majora's Mask.
All right. Chris.
All right, I'm going to go with, again, Greg's going to be mad about it not being a horror game-ish, but I consider this a horror game. Andrew Ryan from BioShock. And I'm going to say not the final boss battle, Andrew Ryan, because it was kind of dumb. But the fact that he's messed with you the entire game from the very beginning and kind of guides you through the game to himself, great. Phenomenal psychological head games. I'm on board. Andrew Ryan, you're welcome.
Greg, would you kindly accept this answer as completely fine?
I'm very conflicted about this because if I want to commit to the bit, then I have to say yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But I also, because Casey told me to do it, I definitely don't want to do it. So we're just going to say, Jays Mac, what do you got?
I told you guys earlier, it's Nemesis, man. Nobody's been more.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So that's a quick move on, but no.
Yeah.
He, again, just somebody so monstrous, just like stomping towards you. You know what I mean? Just like on the hunt for Star. Can't forget him.
Yeah. I'm also in the Resident Evil camp when I say, but for Resident Evil 7, this was a tie for me between Evelyn and Jack Baker. Jack Baker was the first kind of thing that came at me. He was the patriarch of the whole crazy family in like the backwoods swamp area there. Yeah. And something I remember very distinctly about fighting him is he just kept on coming back, and he would just be more disfigured and more monstrous every single time. And yet in the first couple iterations, it was still believable that he would still be around. Like it was just like you light him on fire, you crash a car into him. It was like classic
Yeah, he could
horror
survive
movie.
that.
Like in
Then you
like
cut him in half.
but like if you think about it in the not in like a realistic mode, I guess, or like a frame of mind, but more of like a classic horror movie frame of mind, where like you literally can like eject the villain outside of a spaceship and they will come back like just kind of frozen, thawing out. Like that kind of like feeling is what you had with Resident Evil 7 and especially
Never die
fighting
syndrome.
Jack. Evelyn, and this is going to be big spoilers for I always want to call it Final Fantasy 7.
Spoilers.
Big spoilers for Resident Evil 7. Evelyn is the grandma that just keeps on getting like appearing in places she probably shouldn't be appearing because she's this old woman just like wheelchair bound and she's just in a trance the whole time.
Creepy.
Yeah, so she just keeps on popping up everywhere, and I'm kind of looking at her. I'm like waving my hand in front of her. I'm like, "Hey, are you okay? How'd you get up here? There's no one else here, and I'm pretty sure. I hope I killed Jack. Maybe not though." And yeah.
Oh,
so
you're the floor now. Oh, you're the wall now. Oh no.
oh, great. They did also have those weird venom creatures, which were not scary, but Jack Baker for sure took the cake for me. Pun. You're welcome. Jack Baker took the cake because bakers make cakes.
I got it. It's a good one.
Oh, I didn't get that.
End of show.
That's why I always explain my puns. They're best after being explained.
Thank you.
I feel like it's
All right,
like Pee-wee's Playhouse. No.
All right, the next I'm very interested to hear everyone's answer for the next segment. We're going to be talking about non-horror games that actually scared the out of you. Casey.
So my original answer for this was Metroid Prime.
Okay.
Which I think a case could be made like it's a horror game in the same vein of Dead Space. But my real answer is The Bottom of the Well in Ocarina of Time.
Oh.
Interesting.
There's not much in that game that, if you're a Zelda veteran, that is not that scary and you've seen before. Big spiders, okay, fine. Like, other big spiders, sure. Giant dinosaurs, whatever. No big deal. When you go to the bottom of the well, which you get after, basically, it's in the second biggest like village or town in the game, which is peaceful and full of nice people. Mm-hmm. There's blood. There's garbage. There's skeletons. There's spiders. There's a mystery of a dead ancient people. There are invisible traps. There's guillotines. There's spike floors. Everything about this is horrible. But when you get to the, I guess, main boss, because it's kind of a mini dungeon and not like a big one, the Dead Hand, which is this horrible, armless, like chicken, like corpse monster that's got separate hands that come out of the ground and grab you over the everything about it is bad. It's so scary. I don't like it. To this day, I was 7 years old when I played that game the first time. It still gives me the willies.
And that thing just plucks you right out of the air.
It just gets you.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
don't like it.
Good answer.
All right. Doc Chris.
I'm going to go with the original Final Fantasy VII, Genova. When you see Genova in the friggin' tank, that just like totally rubbed me the wrong way, and I couldn't shake that one for a while. You don't know what it is. It's just like some lady that's all like mangled and weird, like, I don't know, experiments.
And then Sephiroth's like a mommy, and you're like, this
Yeah.
explains so much.
Yeah, this is messed up, followed by like him murdering the whole town. And I think that they, in the remake, they didn't really land on like the terror of that image as much as they do in the original one. But that just kind of never sat super right with me.
Yeah.
That's my choice. Jay, what you got?
Did you guys ever hear of a game called Minecraft?
No, tell us about
No, I
it.
never heard of
I
it.
sure have.
You can just be mining away, collecting ore, and all of a sudden you just hear tss, and then boom, you've died.
Don't sleep on the creepers, baby.
Dude, the creepers get me every time because I'm just sitting there minding my own effing business, and all of a sudden I just turn around and there's just a green explodey boy next to me, and those have given me some of the best jump scares I think in any game. And And the setting of the game is kind of creepy too, right? You're just kind of by yourself unless you're playing with like the multiplayer version. But Minecraft is super. It's creepier.
That was terrible. Just
I enjoyed it.
leave the puns to me, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry.
Thank you. Yeah.
Forgive me.
We have a pun police over here.
I'm not trying to fire you 3 times. Or
I'm trying to
am
get
I?
fired 3 times.
Alas.
All right. So my choice is something that I've made very public knowledge over at PAX East this past year, to which a very prominent partnered streamer, Pumpkinberry, corrected me. And I'm coming back and I'm saying no. Gone Home is not a horror game, but it absolutely scared the crap out of me almost the entire time I played it, because there's nothing like that should scare you about this game other than you're going through what feels like someone else's house, even though I know it's really yours, but it feels like someone else's house with no one else there. And you have this weird feeling of like, I shouldn't be here, but also you kind of expect there to be a ghost around any corner or a murderer or something. And it just never happens. It's actually just a nice little tale about learning more about yourself and learning truths that you never thought you would learn. But still, every time, like I'd put on the radio and I'd be like, oh, it's too loud. And I would duck into the hallway and I'd be like, okay, no one heard me. There's no one here. But there will never be anyone there and no one will ever hear you because you're in this place alone the entire time. But it's just that it had this weird unease about it. And I feel like it was supposed to be kind of on purpose, but not to the extent that I was feeling it. So not like a horror game, but it's still just like, was every time I went in a room, I had that like mentality of like, all right, where are the exits? How do I get out of here quickly?
All right.
And with all of that, we have, I think, the second to last entry, or the second to last subject or category, and that is going to be the least scary horror game you've ever played, or least scariest horror game you have ever played. Casey.
Gentlemen, do you remember a time when video games had full motion video?
Oh, geez. Where is this going?
Night Trap is an almost infamous game where you basically work for like a secret agent group that is watching a bunch of teenage girls having a sleepover while they're about to be murdered by traps that are in the house and also ninja vampires.
That's terrible.
If you've never seen this game, it's almost like a Twitch overlay before Twitch was a thing, where there's this big gray border, you have your main screen, right, and then you have all these accoutrement buttons.
Yeah.
And kind of Five Nights at Freddy's too, because you change the cameras and different stuff happens at different times, right? It is goofy. It is weird. It's super 90s. Like everything from the hair, the fashion, even the way the ninjas look and move, like they move like the putties from Power Rangers.
Good.
I beg you, audience and co-hosts, check anything about Night Trap out for yourself. You will not regret it.
This is the most insane out there pick I've ever seen. Like,
It is.
what the hell is this game?
Listen, this game. I'm shocked that none of you guys have heard of it because
I've never heard of
it. It
seen
is
this.
a huge deal. Like you could, what was this? It was a Sega 32X game. So it's or maybe Sega CD. One of the two. But it's like super neat. Like it's like you're playing a VHS tape on your Sega. It's weird. It's really weird. And it also like it got wrapped up in Congress because people are like, look, video games are corrupting the youth. And
they've got girls.
Classic Sega.
I don't blame them. But it's just it's weird. It's
all right.
weird.
Chris, what do you got?
All right. My choice comes with a caveat, and it's because I haven't played a whole lot of it, and I just played it after I was playing Outlast, so everything is kind of graded on a curve.
All right, fair.
I'm gonna say The Evil Within 1, and I'm saying it because while there are like gory images, there you can kind of see everything. You kind of know where everything is. So the suspense, I feel like the suspense isn't quite there as a lot of horror games where you can't really see what's going on. Like you're very limited in your view. So you think of a horror movie. A lot of horror movies have a lot of gore in it, and by that standard, absolutely, it is also pretty messed up visuals. But like, I don't know if I ever was like I don't think I'm checking under my bed for anything I've seen in The Evil Within, or at least like the first hour of the game.
I agree, but not for the first portion. The first portion was a little frightening because you're in this world. You can only really stealth kill, so you're limited in what you can do. But once it ramps up, it does become more action based, and then you're like, all right, whatever. And then it just becomes annoying because you have to fight all of the bosses all over again, but multiple, and they're more difficult. And I never wanted to have to do that again. And they do it again in Evil Within 2, and I almost lost my goddamn mind. All right. So, Jason, what do you got?
What? I almost said Final Fantasy now. Jesus.
Everybody wants to say it.
Final Fantasy. No. Resident Evil.
Yep.
The first one was not scary to me, and
Wow.
there's a very good reason why. It's because I'm incredibly powerful.
I'm a large
Personally.
man.
I'm such a large man, and
I'm scared of
nothing
little things.
scares me.
That's so funny. All of you versus me.
So again, playing these games with my best friend back in like 1996, 1997. He played this before, and he was sitting next to me, and everything was pretty cool. But he's like, "Oh, check this part." I think because he knew that I was gonna freak out if like the dog jumps through the glass on me, right? He's like, "Dog's gonna jump through the glass." All right, yeah. Coming up, this thing's gonna happen. Like, he was like my user guide to this, right? But he knew, he was protecting me the whole time. He was telling me. Otherwise, this game would have been incredibly scary for me.
I had a similar experience with Silent Hill. I think it was 2, actually, where I was playing it with a bunch of people over in my dorm room, and I was like, "This is nothing. People say this is scary," and then everyone left, and I started continuing to play it, and I was like, "Oh no, this is a much different experience."
Aw, beans.
All of a sudden sunk in.
The one that I chose, I don't know if anyone's heard of. I almost forgot about it. I did have to resort to Google, and when this was brought up, I was like, I blacked this one out completely. It was so bad. Clive Barker's Jericho. When you
Oh my
have
God.
a name like Clive Barker attached to it, Hellraiser, you're like, oh man, this is going to be frightening. This is going to be amazing. It is like a college intern's take on Doom, but like, it's not even like top of the class, not even mid class. It's like bottom tier, bought assets online last second and put together a game.
Oh,
I was so excited to play this game when it came
Yeah.
out too.
It
I
was
played
so
I played a
bad.
good chunk of this game. It was not very good.
It was not even fun, and it was definitely not scary. If I remember correctly, you are like a Black Ops team essentially that goes into hell to fight all the demons, and it's just like, it's tedious. The aiming felt weird.
I've
It was
already fought demons on
slow-paced.
Mars. This isn't cool at all. This is Bush League.
It was an Xbox 360 title, and it, even graphically for that time, I think it was very early 360, it did not hold up. So, Clive Barker's Jericho. All right. Last subject of the night. This is going to be your best overall horror game. This is the one when you pick in, you boot up, you put in your system, whatever, when you want a good scare. This is the one that you want to play every Halloween. This is the one that frightens you to the core. TV's Casey. I swear to God, if you say Majora's Mask, I'm going to end
Another
this stream right
goddamn
now.
Nintendo game.
To be fair, I can fire up that game pretty much anytime.
Okay.
But my actual answer is Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I think Resident Evil 7 it set a new standard for horror games, and I think it takes everything people love about horror games and does it perfectly. It puts you in a scary environment. It's in first person. You're constantly struggling for supplies. You never know what's around the corner. There's puzzles. Everything about it is designed to freak you out and mess you up, and it succeeds in every possible way. I don't know if there's any better way to describe it than the amount of times you're either running away from Jack or you fought him and he's just come back. But the fight with Marguerite is maybe the scariest single thing in that game. Because she becomes a horrible spider woman, and there's horrible spiders crawling everywhere, and I don't like spiders, and there's a lot of spiders. And it's really, really gross. There's twists in the plot. I mean, it's a true hallmark of horror as a genre, let alone horror as a video game.
All right. Chris, what do you got?
I gotta go with PT.
I was gonna say Casey's talking and he goes reinvented. I go, but they ripped off PT.
But did it?
They did rip off PT. Yeah. I mean, PT, it was supposed to be just a quick 3-hour trailer, and it is just absolutely terrifying. I've played through it twice, once when it first came out, and then when I was able to re-download it, I played through it with some friends, and it was great past the controller action, and to the point where some of my friends were like, I don't want the controller anymore. Don't give me the controller. It's so great. If you have downloaded it and somehow haven't played it, get on it. It's terrifying. Or watch a playthrough or something. It's phenomenal.
It's one of the scariest things I've ever
been
been through.
Yeah, it's on the top of every scale. If you look up any list of scariest games of all time, it will be in the top 5 of every single one of those lists.
Yeah, for sure.
Scary.
It's a shame that never happened, turned into anything, because politics and video games.
Yep.
It's the worst. All right. Jay's Mac.
Majora's Mask.
Damn it!
Kidding.
That's it. End stream. Back it up.
I was
Where's
so
that?
ready.
No more of that.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Casey, what have you done?
It's a great game.
Best overall I picked was Welcome to the Game, because if you found on the internet, then you're going to get taken.
All right, my best overall, to no one's surprise, is going to be Blair Witch. I think it is the best and my favorite horror game ever, not just because it has the dogs, because it does also play up with the psychological aspect and incorporates the main character's PTSD into the game and environment as well. I had never had more fun playing this game, and it raises the bar for every other horror game that I've played since. And I played Resident Evil 7 afterwards, and I think that
Still couldn't compete.
while I enjoyed that game a lot, and it definitely reinvents the Resident Evil franchise for sure, I still think that this is better. And the fact that it's a little more bite-sized, in my opinion, than Resident Evil 7, which I think adds to it. It's not a short game, but it's definitely shorter than that. It's just a really cool
it's
experience.
also not designed to be a full length.
That's also very
anything.
true.
Yeah. That's a
and there's
huge
also
part.
kind of time travel-y elements too, which I super appreciate with the camcorder, the handheld camcorder, and the puzzles and all that. So yeah, that's gonna be my best overall. And with all that being said, I just do want to quickly reiterate, since I'm being very self-serving on this episode, that if you think you might enjoy the Blair Witch game, it is free right now over on the Epic launcher for 1 week only. Please, 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 please do yourself a favor and redeem it. It is a fantastic game. If that's a little too spooky for you, they got Ghostbusters Remastered on there, which is amazing if you love the original Ghostbusters movies. And I don't know why I said original, because there's only 2. There's no more yet. The third one comes out next year. It got moved. And it was also written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, and includes all of the original actors reprising their roles except for Sigourney Weaver, because reasons. All right. And with all that being said, that is all the time that we have for tonight. I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us and enjoying the discussion over at twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, you can always find us on YouTube over on the Rogue Matter page there, and on Facebook as well. I don't know, Serge, I don't usually do this outdoor thing. What else am I missing? Oh yeah, find us on wherever you get a podcast if you came in a little late and want to hear all of the wonderful choices that we had discussed, except for Casey's, and his are just choices, but that's fine.
That was a choice.
That was a choice.
He said things.
He said a thing. Everyone, again, oh yeah, and before I forget, our business guy will literally throw me out the window if I don't mention this. RogueMatter.com is live right now, so you can go and check out all the wonderful projects that are in development and coming up over there. All right, everyone, we will see you next time, or we will see you another time.